In parts 1 and 2, I tried to demonstrate how starting with a small number of moves is enough to start winning matches. They were also meant to show how if you're struggling at the very lowest levels of play, you should not chalk that up to being unable to do special moves or combos or whatever else. I do have to admit though, the previous videos gloss over several important points, one of the biggest being how do you even know what strategy you should be looking for in the first place? The biggest thing to start out with is identifying what the high-risk moves are and how to effectively counter an opponent who uses them too often. In Street Fighter V, jumping is a risky but high-reward thing to do. You can't block during a jump, and every character has ways to anti-air you. If you jump at the opponent and they're not committed to some other move, you're letting them hit you for free. You see beginners jump a lot because the reward for a successful jump-in is the highest damage combo you have. So at that level of play where people aren't anti-airing very much, there's that huge upside without the normal downside. Another high-risk, high-reward thing you see being used often by beginners are moves that are punishable on block. When you guard these moves correctly, your opponent is wide open to be hit and there's nothing they can do about it. This is to balance out things that would otherwise make the moves too strong. In Street Fighter V, the most universal move that falls into this category are sweeps, or crouch-heavy kicks. Across the board, if you block a character's sweep, you can probably hit them for free. Also, moves that are invincible or have armor usually fall into this same punishable category. Any given character is only going to have a few of these, so it won't take too much time to learn to recognize them. Similar to jumps, when people start out, other beginning players aren't blocking enough or aren't taking enough advantage of the free hit when they have it there on the table, so you see people throwing out these moves quite a lot. You have to make people pay for going to high-risk moves too often. If you can't, you'll never consistently beat even low-level players. On the flip side, in the earliest ranks of online play, you'll win entire matches by basically anti-airing and punishing. You don't even really need to play the game. Even when you anti-air someone 5 times in a row, don't assume they'll stop jumping. Even if they stop for a little while, don't assume they won't start back up at it. The moment your opponent runs out of ideas is the moment they're going to start to jump, throw out a dragon punch, etc., so be ready for this to happen at any time. After you take care of dealing with high-risk, high-reward tactics, the secondary objective is to have a basic game plan for when your opponent doesn't use those kinds of moves, or when you scare them off from using those moves by countering them effectively. Like I said before, you may never actually need to do this against beginning players. So to recap, lay a foundation of figuring out the high-risk, high-reward things you need to watch out for and be able to stop your opponent from doing them. In Street Fighter V, I identified these as opponents jumping at you and using punishable moves like sweeps or invincible and armored moves. This might take a bit of time, but you'll learn to react and get the free damage your opponent is giving you. After that, figure out a basic plan for when your opponent stops taking lots of risks. In Street Fighter V, that means establishing a ground game. Picking the right buttons for your initial plan is important. In Part 4, we'll look at another big question: how to know when to press buttons. Meaning, how to wrap your head around the concept of turns in fighting games. As always, thanks for watching and see you next time.